Why the COVID-19 vaccine should be mandated upon initial recommended release within the United States and all around the world. So first, I will be discussing the topics to support the COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available. So first are cytokine storms, which is an occurrence when too many immune cells are activated in a certain part of the body, likely because it is a new pathogenic invader that the immune system has not yet encountered before. This has happened 2 times in written history, in the influenza pandemic of 1918 and the current COVID-19 pandemic. This picture shows the entrance of the COVID-19 virus into the body, which triggers the inflammatory signals, which then turns into the dendritic cells, monocytes, and macrophages. But when all three of these are activated together, it creates a cytokine storm, which on top of these outcomes also includes headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, and fatigue. And these outcomes are acute respiratory distress syndrome, multi-organ failure, hyperinflammation syndrome, and even death. Also, encephalopathy is an alteration of the brain, both structurally and functionally, which we are commonly familiar with alcohol. When someone is under the influence of alcohol, the toxins from the alcohol block the neuron receptors in the brain, so the motor controls are off in the brain, which also causes great confusion. Now, this is also beginning to happen with the COVID-19 pandemic shown here. In a 43-year-old man who presented in the emergency department, he had brain scans about 4 months before being diagnosed where his brain was healthy, compared to now when he presented with lightheadedness, fatigue, and dizziness. They tested him for COVID-19 where he was positive, and here his brain is atrophied, which without his brain scans, we never would have known that it was because of COVID-19 that his brain is being atrophied like this. So it is extremely vital to receive the COVID-19 vaccine because it affects everyone differently. And if you get it, you won't know until it is too late how it is going to affect you. So this is a graph representing the amount of individuals who will receive the COVID-19 vaccine whenever it becomes available compared to the percentage of people who will receive the influenza. So for Pennsylvania, 60 to 75% of individuals will receive the COVID vaccine whenever it initially releases, compared to the less than 50% of individuals who want to receive the influenza vaccine. Overall, throughout the nation, 67% of individuals support the COVID-19 vaccine, opposed to only the 33 who do not. And this is vital that everybody does receive it because so far there has been 3 reported studied co-infected cases. Now, although these patients did recover, it was extremely difficult for them, and one of them almost passed away from being co-infected with COVID and influenza at the same time. Now, these are topics against the COVID-19 vaccine when it first becomes available. So first is a lack of research funding. Now, this was derived by Sarah Gilbert, who is the professor of vaccinology at the University of Oxford, where she began her research in January of 2020, but it took her 4 months to receive the $2.2 million grant. So the first 4 months of her research was just understanding the virus that the sample she was given and comparing it to previous laboratory virus studies that she has performed in the past. Now, she has been researching for 10 months, but research companies and agencies all throughout the country are finding this very difficult because they do not have proper funding to advance their research techniques. Now, there are also different strains of the virus, which means it is mutating. There's over 350,000 coronavirus mutations in a study conducted by the Frontiers of Microbiology. So these mutations combined with 68 strains. Now, although these strains had low infection rates, 2 of them are the main strains that have affected over 50 million people. So one might not prevent you from getting another type of the virus. Finally, the immunocompromised, which, although these individuals, they're elderly, immunocompromised, they could have vaccine diminished effects. Now, these people already have a poor immune system that needs to fight harder. The new vaccine and the virus will be deemed ineffectual and harmful to them as they are already struggling.